Hello, everybody. My name is Sherry Sutton, and I am your marketing mentor. Thank you so much for being here today. So, I get asked all the time how I raised my following to 10,800 people. It's crazy even to me. And so, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how that happened. It's really a story about giving yourself a long time for your business to grow. Don't expect it overnight, and being very, very consistent over time. And being very smart and strategic about how you engage other people into your audience. So let's get started. I'm going to give you a little bit of background on my Instagram page because I think it's important to know. So about 10 years ago, I started a photography business. I did wedding photography. I still do photography today, though I primarily do brand photography. So I do brand photography, and I still do some senior portraits and family portraits. And every now and then I do a wedding, though not all that often anymore. Those days are real long on this old and many surgeried shoulder. So I don't do too much photography anymore. But anyway, I started about 10 years ago, and I started the Instagram at that point. My business slowly kind of built over time. And the great thing about being an event photographer is you meet a ton of people who want to get tagged in your pictures so that they can share them with their friends. So here's an interesting story about how you can build something up on social media and it can immediately be taken away. So I used to build most of my business on Facebook through my Facebook page, because I was able to tag individuals in that page. So when I would upload pictures, I would go online, I would tag all those folks, whether they were my friends or not. Well, what happened was Facebook changed their algorithm, and all of that went away overnight. So automatically, I wasn't able to tag anyone anymore. And all of my Facebook engagement, which was 100% of my business, all went away overnight. So I moved myself over to Instagram and said, okay, this is one place where I know that I can still tag these participants at these weddings. So what I started doing is when I was at a wedding, I would upload photographs directly from my camera onto my phone, and I would go around and ask people, hey, are you in this picture? Especially the wedding party and obviously the bride and groom. I would then follow them on Instagram. I would ask them to follow me on Instagram, and people always are carrying around their phones, right? So it's something that they can do. Or I also had business cards that I gave to them while they were there, or I left on their seats so that they could look it up later. And so then I would tag them in all of my photos when I posted them, and I would actually post them right there from the wedding. And so that got a ton of traction because I was frequently the first photograph that was out there of these amazing blessed events. And so people started seeing them, they started sharing them on their pages, started sharing them on their stories, and it just sort of exploded from there. So that was the biggest part of my growth. And I did that full time for 6 years, and then part-time for a few more years after that. When I started this business, I wanted to use some of that base because I knew a lot of my photography clients, I had stayed friends with these people years later, and I knew that a lot of them would want to do brand photography or just continue to follow me in my personal journey of combining what I did in the corporate world for so long with my love of photography and my photography business. So I decided to convert my Sherry Sutton photography into what you're watching right now on Sherry Sutton Marketing. So how have I created users since then? So when I first converted over to Sherry Sutton Marketing, it was, let's see, it's June. Honestly, I really only did it towards the end of last year, January of this year. So it's been about 6 months, and I've gotten about 800 followers since then. So this is what you really want to know, which is how have I continued to get new followers, even though I've changed, right? I've changed sort of what I do. And the most important piece of that is consistency. I consistently show up. I consistently don't only show up with sort of like, hey, here I am, but I consistently show up with really good content. That's incredibly important. Understanding your target audience, knowing what they need, getting online, getting onto social media, and giving them advice about the things that they are struggling with. So doing that and doing that consistently is one of the biggest elements to a great social media feed. The other is hashtags. Hashtags are the way that people find you online. So they're incredibly important. On Instagram, you can do anywhere, on most posts, you can do anywhere from 10 to 30. I always recommend you go way at the high end of that. The more hashtags I put in, the more new users I get. Every single time, it is a direct correlation. So use those hashtags. I'm putting all these things together in a Instagram, everything you ever needed to know about marketing on Instagram or something like that, name to be determined. If you have any good ideas, send it to me. But I'm putting together a class right now. I'm hoping to launch it probably in July, and it'll have a lot about hashtags, all of this information I'm talking to you about today, and a whole lot more. But the biggest things are consistency and using hashtags. But I also wanted to spend a few minutes talking to you about the fact that size really doesn't matter, right? And I know, go ahead and giggle for a second. All right. Size really doesn't matter. I have some clients. I also manage social media for a number of clients. And I have a few clients that have incredible amounts of engagement with not that many followers, right? So I have a goaltending academy. The person who runs it was an NHL player, played in the minors forever, won the NCAA championship, has friends in the hockey world all over the place. And everything I post, he gets 100 likes or whatever on almost everything I post, but he really only has, I think, 1,700 followers. I should have looked these numbers up before I got on here, but he doesn't have all that many followers, but there's such a loyal base of folks, and the people who are part of his goaltending academy, the parents are on Instagram, they follow him on Instagram, they like everything that he does, and so you can have not a lot of followers, but a very loyal following and still have an incredibly robust business. So just because you have a ton of people, following you on Instagram or who have liked your page, it doesn't mean that you're always going to have a good business. Depending on how you brought them in, right, they may not be the right target audience for you, or you may not be offering them what they want anymore. And I'll be frank about my business. Since I've converted from my photography business to my marketing business, there are a lot of people who used to engage with me that don't as much anymore because they're not doing those. They're not at that same phase of life, right? They're not looking for weddings. They don't have friends who are looking for weddings anymore. They've moved on to kids and heck, maybe divorces and remarriages by now, right? So that's okay that some people will come in and some people will go out, but that means I've got sort of higher numbers. But there are some folks who have a very small but very passionate following, and that is just as powerful as having a very large following, but maybe not a following that's as targeted. So don't worry about the size of the number of people, who are following you, right? Make sure that you're giving really good content, giving it consistently, that you're using hashtags, you're reaching out to the target audience that needs you the most and that's going to buy from you, and don't get wrapped up in all of the numbers. So I hope that little kind of walk into my history was interesting. It's a little bit of a preview into my Instagram marketing class that's going to come soon. I'm super excited to share that with you. I think it'll be a really good one. I'm going to keep the price point fairly low, but it's a ton of content. I presented a piece of it to a training class on Friday, and it was an hour and a half, and I don't think I took a breath the whole time. So it'll probably be a good 3 hours of stuff and great content. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, let me know. Direct message me, put a message in the comments below, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.